10 years ago, my name is Alina. When I was 25, my family abruptly cut ties with me, which left me in a tough spot both mentally and financially. At that time, I wasn't financially prepared to live on my own, especially since I had just started a job and was trying to save money by living at home. The root of this family rift was an accusation from my sister, Eden, who is significantly older than me. Eden had been married to William for 1 year when she suddenly filed for divorce, accusing him of having an affair. The supposed other woman was a friend of mine, Ariana, whom I had introduced to William because he was a nutrition director who could help her with her goal to gain weight. This connection led my sister to believe that I had inadvertently facilitated the affair. I was blindsided by these events because both William and Ariana had always shown themselves to be upstanding individuals. William was utterly devoted to Eden, and Ariana, a genuinely decent person, would never intentionally become involved with a married man. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, my parents sided with Eden without hesitation, driven perhaps by their immediate emotional response to her distress. This family drama led to them kicking me out of the house at a time when I was just beginning to establish my financial independence. It was a sudden and harsh exile that I had no time to prepare for. Fast forward to many years later, I received an unexpected email from Ariana, who had come across definitive proof that contradicted the accusations against her and William. This evidence shed new light on the situation and prompted me to confront the past, although it also stirred up old conflicts and strained relationships further. Navigating these troubled waters was challenging, as it involved reassessing familial bonds and personal convictions. This saga of misunderstanding and the eventual quest for truth deeply impacted my relationship with my family, highlighting the complexities of loyalty, truth, and reconciliation. It was clear that my parents would always favor their daughter over their son-in-law, but I never grasped why they would disown me so quickly just because my sister, Eden, demanded it. One day, she burst in, threw a fit, and somehow persuaded my parents to expel me, blaming me for introducing her husband, William, to another woman, Ariana. She claimed I had destroyed her marriage, and shockingly, my parents sided with her. Devastated, I tried to reason with them, but they refused to hear me out. They sternly told me to leave, or they would force me out. Within a day, I lost both my family and my home, with nowhere to go. I found myself weeping on the sidewalk, clutching my belongings, until I mustered the strength to spend the night at a friend's place. I attempted to reach out to my parents repeatedly over the following days to no avail. My friend graciously let me stay with him while I searched for my own apartment. It became apparent that my parents firmly believed I was at fault for the divorce. They even expressed disgust at my actions before throwing me out, which baffled me since I wasn't the one who had an affair with William. They had even blocked my number, and when I tried to visit, my mother threatened to call the police on me. I soon came to terms with the harsh reality that my parents truly blamed me for the ordeal. Reflecting on my childhood, it made sense. My sister was always the favored child. As a second, unplanned child, I often felt overlooked. Although I didn't mind it growing up, I never imagined it would lead to such a drastic fallout. In hindsight, maybe I should have anticipated something like this, but truthfully, I doubt anyone could have predicted such a dramatic turn of events. For several weeks, I tried to piece together the puzzle of my life on my own after being isolated from my family and friends. Eden and my parents had completely shut me out, and even William, who was once a friend, had blocked all communication with me. This abrupt disconnection left me bewildered and alone, unable to reach anyone who might shed light on the situation. Since both Eden and William had moved out of their shared home and returned to their respective parents' houses, I was left with no direct way to contact them. In my quest for clarity, I reluctantly turned to Ariana, someone I wasn't particularly close to but felt might have some insights. I met with her and laid out everything, questioning her about the rumors of an affair that Eden had spread. Ariana strongly refuted these claims, insisting that her interactions with William had always been strictly professional. She reassured me by sharing details of her stable, long-term relationship and her upcoming wedding plans, even showing me photos to prove her point. Her sincerity and the evidence she provided contrasted sharply with Eden's accusations, leading me to believe that the reasons behind the rift in my family were based on falsehoods. Without concrete proof, however, I found myself unable to mend the broken ties with my family or confront them with the truth about the situation. Feeling estranged and desperate, I yearned to return to the warmth and familiarity of my family life, but the circumstances forced me to accept the reality of my isolation. Over time, I managed to channel my energies into my work, finding solace in my responsibilities and the routine they brought. This new focus not only helped me to cover my living expenses, but also served as a distraction from the emotional turmoil I had endured. Through this process, I began to heal, gradually overcoming the feelings of abandonment and moving forward with my life, albeit on a path I had never anticipated. I faced a difficult choice back then. I was in pain but knew I needed to push forward, even without the support of my family. As time passed, I began to see improvements in my life. I moved out of my small apartment into a larger one and recently got engaged to my girlfriend of 3 years. The announcement of our engagement on social media turned out to be unexpectedly pivotal. Just a few days after our engagement went public, I received an astonishing email. It came unexpectedly and laid out the entire backstory of my sister Eden's divorce. It provided all the answers I had been seeking, complete with evidence. My fiancée, Daisy, who is usually active on Instagram, had also shared our engagement photo on Facebook. This post reached a broader audience, including my former brother-in-law, William. William and Daisy had met a few years ago at a seminar since she works as a surgeon, and they connected on Facebook. That connection led William to discover my engagement post. It's a small world indeed, and for the first time, I felt fortunate about its intricacies. William chose to contact me via an anonymous email a few days after seeing the post. He later explained that he opted for anonymity to avoid any awkwardness, given it had been years since his divorce, and he didn't want to appear as though he hadn't moved on. Moreover, he had been the one to block me initially, so reaching out about something so far in the past felt strange to him. The email he sent contained detailed accounts and proof of events from 10 years ago, which were eye-opening. Contrary to what had been claimed for years, it was my sister, not William, who had been unfaithful. She had an affair with a friend of mine, Henry. He worked as a waiter at a local bakery store. This revelation was shocking, especially since she had previously accused William of the very deeds she was guilty of. This new information brought a significant shift in how I viewed past events, reshaping old perceptions and changing my understanding of many relationships. Back in the day, I had no inkling that Eden had been seeing Henry, as they had always managed to keep their interactions under the radar. However, William eventually pieced it together. When confronted, Eden falsely accused me of orchestrating their connection. She claimed that since I introduced her to Henry, knowing he was an aspiring she had musical talent, it was all my doing. They apparently fell in love quickly, and she even implicated me in helping them maintain their secrecy. This was utterly untrue. I was unaware of their relationship until it blew up. Henry was furious when he discovered their affair and, in his anger, blocked my entire family, a decision he later regretted and admitted was rash. Later, Henry explained to me in person, wanting to avoid the impersonal nature of emails, that his initial reaction was too hasty. However, he had attached evidence to his email, which included screenshots of conversations between my sister and Henry. These messages detailed their deception and included declarations of love and future plans together. Eden's use of her middle name in these emails, a detail not widely known, solidified her involvement. Convinced that William was behind the email, I scoured social media connections and confirmed my suspicion upon finding his connection to my sister. I reached out to him, and we met recently. He revealed that he had learned of Eden's deceit through Ariana, who had known him for years. I regretted asking Ariana to keep my involvement a secret, realizing too late the complexity it added to the situation. When I pieced everything together, I realized I could have cleared my name long before if I hadn't spoken out. It turned out that William had bumped into her a few years back, and she had inquired about his divorce. That conversation led William to discover the fabrications Eden had spread about us. He wanted to come clean to me sooner but hesitated because he felt awkward about it. Honestly, if William weren't so prone to embarrassment, managing my problems would have been simpler. Nonetheless, I forgave him since I needed his assistance to confront my sister's deceit. Eden had manipulated our parents into supporting her financially through her divorce by lying blatantly, even implicating me to strengthen her story. She knew just one chat with our mutual friend Ariana would reveal the truth to me. The realization that my own sister could act so selfishly was baffling. She never attempted to correct the lies, and our parents had naively believed everything she told them. She was aware that exposing her infidelity would jeopardize her position, and she couldn't take that risk. But the truth was out now, and I was determined to use it to expose her as she had done to me all those years ago. I hadn't been home for 10 years and wasn't sure if my family still lived at the same address. Luckily, they hadn't moved, a fact I confirmed through an old neighbor. It was unsurprising to find that Eden was still living with them. She had always been lazy, preferring to let our elderly parents handle all the household duties if it meant she could avoid any hard work. So, without prior notice, 5 days ago, William and I decided to show up at their doorstep. When my mom opened the door, we entered without giving her a moment to understand what was unfolding. The living room hosted my dad and Eden, reuniting us briefly as a family, but the peace was short-lived. As soon as we stepped in, my dad's demeanor changed drastically. He threatened to call the police if we didn't leave immediately. I retorted that he could do as he pleased, but only after reviewing the documents we brought. My parents were baffled, while Eden, looking nauseous, excused herself to her room. It seemed like she was trying to avoid confrontation, but escaping the situation was futile. William proceeded to present the divorce papers and the emails between Eden and Henry as I laid out the backstory. He explained how Eden had been forced to part with our grandmother's cherished diamond ring in the settlement because, as a high school teacher, she couldn't afford the financial demands and had to sell the ring instead. The revelations shocked my parents, particularly when they learned of the depth of deception. The tension escalated when my dad demanded Eden explain herself. Despite the overwhelming evidence, she continued to deflect and lie. Having had enough, my dad packed her belongings and expelled her from the house, then sternly told the rest of us to leave as well. I wasted no time leaving with William, while my sister, desperate and tearful, pleaded to stay, echoing my own past pleas for familial reconciliation. This moment felt like a profound twist of karma, and I couldn't help feeling a sense of justice. Days later, my sister appeared at my place, insisting I mend things with our parents. I was surprised she found me, but I firmly told her I owed her nothing after everything that had transpired. She had wrought her own ruin. I once returned a favor to someone, achieving an equal footing, but it seems that actions stripped her of her dignity. When I confronted her, she broke down, calling me a monster. I didn't indulge in her theatrics, simply closing the door on her tears, retreating to my music while my fiancée, Daisy, worked at her study, ensuring our peace. Eventually, she left, but not without labeling me a vengeful monster on my door. Personally, I don't regret my actions or feel any remorse. She's convinced that I'm the antagonist, yet all I did was mirror her past misdeeds towards me, albeit honestly, while she had spun lies that greatly affected my life. This situation brings me back to an incident 10 years ago when her accusations nearly ruined my life, resulting in her own downfall recently. Despite this, she continues to harass me, even resorting to calling multiple times until I threatened to involve the police. She's desperate, struggling on a teacher's salary, but I find her pleas for sympathy unfounded. I've blocked her numerous times, yet she persists, roping in friends to reach me. Our parents, who are no better, stumbled upon my engagement announcement and now seek reconciliation, wanting to attend my wedding without so much as an apology. I remain unmoved by their attempts to re-enter my life, holding firm in my resolve. What are your thoughts? Am I wrong for wanting justice served after all these years? Or is it just desserts for the pain caused by her false claims? Today was quite the eventful day. It's baffling how some people muster the courage to speak nonsense, but thankfully, I've stayed out of the fray. Instead, Daisy and I have spent the day chuckling over their messages, It's almost impossible to believe they're serious. It's truly a sad situation for them. Adding to the chaos, Eden showed up at my doorstep again. Just yesterday, I warned her I'd report her for harassment. As I was about to head to work, she dramatically threw herself on my car's hood, refusing to move until we talked. It was incredibly frustrating, and I ultimately had to call the police. They arrived and escorted her away while she made a scene, attempting to paint me as the villain. But her theatrics didn't sway anyone. It took a while, but I pressed charges and then rushed off to work, determined not to let this episode ruin my day. As expected, my parents bailed her out since she's their favorite. Later, my parents sent me a long message criticizing my actions, citing a supposed honest mistake from nearly a decade ago. It's ironic, considering there was nothing honest or accidental about the way my sister and they treated me. They were fully aware of their actions. Despite knowing I had nowhere else to go, they didn't hesitate to throw me out. Now that the tables are turned, I see no reason to extend forgiveness or kindness. I replied, telling them they lost any moral authority over me years ago and should stop fooling themselves. I haven't blocked them yet due to lack of time, but it's on my to-do list. Once done, I hope to finally be free from all this family drama. I just got home from work and checked my social media, only to find yet another lengthy message from my parents. Daisy and I just shook our heads in disbelief. I recently came across a message that left me and my friend Daisy in stitches. It was perhaps the most absurd thing I've ever read. It seems some people who think we're still family don't realize that their words no longer affect me. They live in their own delusional bubble, thinking they are victims or heroes. They told me they've welcomed my sister Eden back home, claiming that both of their children deserve a second chance, as if I was the one who had erred. While they've reconciled with my sister, they also expect Daisy and me to visit them for a dinner to resolve our issues amicably before my upcoming wedding. They even assume I want them at my wedding, a notion that made us laugh even harder. I responded to their message, making it clear I had no interest in their invitation and that I've been perfectly content without them for the past 10 years. Their actions only reinforce my decision to distance myself. I no longer need them or their forgiveness. They can keep playing the perfect family with my sister, but as for me, I've moved on. I've blocked them, cutting off all communication, as I no longer find humor in their attempts. I'm certain they'll try to reach out again, but they'll find that I'm unreachable. Daisy is the only family I need now. As for my parents and sister, they've never been able to see beyond themselves, and I doubt they ever will. Should they try to contact me again, they'll be dealing with my lawyer. That's a promise I intend to keep.